We are thrilled to have the team from Neo3 here with us today, Jim Rosenberg and Patrick. And this is Jeff Herman and Ryan Cochran from the Business Journal. And today we're talking about accelerating business performance with automated financial planning. Something critical to everyone's business is to accelerate performance. And so as a matter of housekeeping, we'll be handing the presentation over to Jim and Pat here momentarily. But please feel free to use the Q&A function, the chat function, and even pose your questions on Facebook Live. I'll be over monitoring the Facebook stream. Ryan's going to be monitoring here at Zoom, and Jim and Pat will be sharing all their knowledge and expertise on how to accelerate business performance. So with that being said, thank you all for joining us today, and I will hand the presentation over, and let's go.
My name is Jim Rosenberg, and I'm with Neo3, and I'm going to be walking you through this presentation today. Okay, there's my slide coming up. Been doing this now for 20 years. Well, technically, tomorrow will be 21. It's interesting over the years, the evolution that has occurred in that 21-year period of ERP solutions that we've been dealing with. What we're talking about mostly today is Oracle NetSuite, which is on the cutting edge of newest technology available in ERP cloud-based solutions. It's, in my mind, it's not that long ago that we were dealing with, software that's installed on your desktop or server in some local area network in a office environment, which is, a lot different than it is today. We're all at home, we're getting things from the cloud. Before, there used to be a little server in some closet in somebody's room that was under lock and key, and that was to be so secure, and you had a little tape backup you had to deal with there and all that. And that's really changed in the last 20 years. And it's been fun. If you're in the technology industry today, it evolves. It used to be every year there were new things coming out. Now it's every 10 minutes. So you have to really pay attention to what's happening. Okay, so today we're going to talk about business performance, specifically with respect to financial information that you should have at the tips of your fingers so that you can make decisions for your company in a more timely fashion with better data, with some forward-looking type information so that you know where you're going and your business is going. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we get into the software demonstration. And we'll talk next about some of the challenges that our customers are facing today and that we know that some of you guys are facing as well. First of all, what's the future hold for everyone, right? If you talk to me or anybody probably on this call prior to March 15th, the future then looked a little different than it actually turned out to be, right? So the new future, the new reality is what we're looking for heading forward. And now we all know that we have to be a little more nimble, a little more adaptable. This global pandemic kind of taught us a lot of things and made us learn how to operate our businesses in a different environment. As we speak down some of these checklist items we have on the screen right now, customer volatility is changing, right? Their demand is, it's instant gratification world that we're living in right now, right? We can't give a quote in a week. They want a quote now, or they want a quote on your website. They might not even want to talk to you. They want to go on a website, get your quote, or enter an order through a website. Interaction is less than it used to be. We have to work harder to get our customers. So that's changing, and we have to have better systems in place so that we can deal with those ever-changing issues. Again, that speaks to number 3 on this list: high-pressure decision-making with less time and resources. Sometimes, on March 17th, we all had to make a decision. That's when Ohio shut down, and luckily we were in a position, Neo3 was, and a lot of our customers that had a cloud-based solution, that they could say, okay, for the most part, we can move our office people off-site, and they were able to do that because they had a package that allowed them to do that. And then lo and behold, a little bit later on, we got calls from a lot of other people that needed the same sort of thing. most importantly of all of this is that you have to be able to keep an eye on your finances. Your data has to be available to you at your fingertips. It has to be quickly accessible, and it has to make sense to you. And we're going to show you a little bit of how that is going to be played out in the demo in a little bit. Last but not least, you have to mitigate risk. Again, this pandemic really has uncovered a lot of areas in our businesses that are threats. And, when you have good data at your fingertips, it's a lot easier to mitigate risk. You know what you have available to you from resource perspective, what kind of cash flows coming into you. None of us could see the future, but we could plan for certain realities in the future, given that we have some data in front of us. As always, new challenges bring new opportunities. And, one of the things that we benefited from as a team at Neo3 is our industry is kind of lending itself to the remote worker. We're a technology firm. We do support, we do implementations, we do consulting. A lot of our competitors across the United States are, already remote-based workers, and we were more of an in the office kind of group, and let's get together and let's huddle up on these things and talk these things through. When we had to make those changes in March, we realized that we could make those changes, and that we were pretty good at it, and that was something that we just embraced instead of burying your head in the sand and say hoping this thing blows over, because it still really hasn't. And here we are in September, so we were able to embrace that change, and I think a lot of other customers and prospects out there were able to do the same. Additionally, you have to be able to focus on the big picture and take yourself out of the weeds when you're working on your business. And sometimes that's hard to do when all these things are coming at you. But if you have better data available to you, that helps you as well. And sometimes it's beyond the numbers, and you need to get a sense of looking at potential issues that will show up before they actually do, and predict when there could be issues in your business. We know that's hard to do, but it's something that we constantly have to work at, and we can help you with that. Planning for success. And Pat, you can jump in at any time, but I'll go ahead and continue here. Yeah. Important things that when you're talking about financial forecasting is you need to have real-time availability of financial data and visibility of that. We have a lot of situations where our customers have data in different sources, and then in order for them to make a good decision, they have to pull a spreadsheet from here, or some financial data from their payroll service, or what have you, and put that all together into one place so they could, now I have a full picture. We'll show you how NetSuite can help you with that. The ability to do what-if scenarios is important too. You can do that with budgeting and planning. And again, with the end-to-end budgeting and rolling forecasts. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the product. There's when it comes to automation, there's a lot of pre-built workflows that are available to us in NetSuite, as well as predictive reporting that we'll get into a little bit today. But those types of tools enable you to look forward and manage your business from a high level and be predictive about things rather than reactive. So all of this is possible with our financial management software, which is called Oracle NetSuite. And we're going to get into that. I'm going to touch upon a few different areas within the software, go into a live version of the software, and take a few deep dives on a couple different items. Some of my favorites are the financial reporting aspects of NetSuite. I'll spend some time on that. Pat, if I get too involved in that and get too excited and spend too much time, just hit me up here.
No problem.
Last thing here is we'll go through a couple slides here. We've been able to reduce budgeting and forecasting cycles for our clients by up to 90%. NetSuite has. It's truly a better alternative than trying to put manual spreadsheets together or manage an on-premise solution, which is when you weigh the cost of all the hardware and the backups and all the overhead related to that, it can be very expensive. the key to having data in one place is that you're able to decrease your errors and improve your accuracy of your reporting. It's very easy to make a mistake in Excel. We all love it. We use it a lot. Everybody tries to use Excel. They know it, but it's, we all know that you can make a lot of mistakes in there. We've seen it happen. All that tied together gives you the ability to make better decisions, better informed decisions, and plan for your future. All right, so there's that picture of me, Pat, and Brett, who's our executive vice president. He also does some development for us. We'll have this slide presentation available to you after this so that you can download a white paper on financial planning, budgeting, and forecasting in a more in-depth view. We're going to be more on a high level today, but that white paper will get you down into some very good information, very detailed information, and then you can always call us and arrange a meeting to go over more information on that as well. So as I was putting together this presentation for today, and I'm sorry I put it on a different slide deck, it kind of came to me late. Strangely enough, tomorrow is our 21st anniversary of our business. So it led me to start down memory lane and think about some things, So our 20th anniversary logo, which you saw on the previous slide, is now going to be expired. So we're going to have to go to 21, which is good. We made another year. But I was wondering to myself, hey, what were the phones like in 21 years ago? This is 1999. So these were the phones. Strangely enough, iPhones weren't even out until 2007. I thought that was amazing, right? I'm thinking to myself, wow, I think I had an iPhone forever. But in 1999, the BlackBerries actually were just being invented or just rolling out. So these are the phones we use. And I had one, the second from the right. Bill Clinton was our president, right? And Unpretty by TLC was the #1 song on the top 40 charts, which I can't even remember. So I don't know if some of you guys can or not. Some technology things, right? Facebook was not a thing, and that didn't come about till 2004. Netflix was shipping DVDs to your house one at a time. Uber wasn't a thing till 2009. Y2K was still didn't happen. We were planning on that as happening, right? This was kind of a bad time to get in technology business. We were a little late to the party, but it worked out. Toyota Camry, best-selling vehicle in the United States, and Google wasn't even operating yet as a browser. So this is where we're at. And of course, Compaq was the top-selling computer brand in the United States, and they don't even exist today. So another strange thing that happened at that point in time, a company called NetLedger was celebrating its first anniversary. It is the first company to build an application on and for the internet. Well, and Netscape, if you can remember that one, anybody that's old enough, Netscape was the most popular internet browser at the time, and NetLedger was accessed through Netscape. And this is a screenshot of NetLedger system. It's the first online general ledger system, and that became NetSuite. So NetSuite actually started in 1998. They were a year old in 99. They changed its name to NetLedger changed its name to NetSuite in 2003. They went public in 2007. They were purchased by Oracle in 2016. And today they're the #1 cloud-based ERP software, the financial management software on the planet. So that was the cycle that happened. And I thought, when I looked at 1999, NetLedger was they were way ahead of the curve. Now we all know that a lot has happened in technology since then, right? Things have changed. Interestingly, though, if you look at this screen, that was one of the original screenshots here. You're going to see the brand new shot here in 2 seconds. So that's a little bit of a comparison on how things have evolved.
Hey, Jim, before we head into this next segment, we got a quick question from an attendee. They want to know what your first step that you recommend when someone's transitioning their business software.
I would say the first step that you really need to do as an organization is understand why you want to do that, right? You really need to know, why do I want to make a change? What is the need that's driving me to make a change? Okay. We've been in situations where people want to change their software package and they don't really know why. And we go meet with them, and then we realize that they don't have a software problem or an ERP problem at all. Sometimes it's a personnel problem. Sometimes it's a culture problem. Sometimes it's other things that are driving. There's bad data. You might have a bad employee. I'm not saying that's the case, but there's the real thing that you need to decide before you talk to anybody is, why do we want to do this? What is the purpose? Because people like us are going to ask you that as soon as we come through the door. Like, what's driving you? What's doing this? What's making you think this way? So that's the thing I'd say. The first thing to do is prepare yourself mentally to know why you want to do this in the first place. Sometimes it's very obvious. We have disjointed systems. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you'll get in there and say, well, I have a pretty good system. Maybe it's not configured right. Maybe that's all we need to do is fix it. And I'm a proponent of not changing it if it's not broken. So I would say that you need to really know why you're doing it. What we're looking at here actually is the homepage for Oracle NetSuite. And Oracle NetSuite is 100% cloud-based. You can't get it any other way. You have to go through a browser. It's built for the cloud, on the cloud, and started back in, like I mentioned earlier, in 1998. It was originally when it started. So everybody logs into the same interface, which I'm going to do right now. And, the security is off the charts with NetSuite, as it would have to be, because every organization logs into the same place. It's obviously open to the internet, so you can access it anywhere, anytime, from any device. Now, we have some security measures built in to NetSuite so that you can lock it down a little bit more. And the two-factor authentication is an option. We could do IP restrictions so that only people can get to it from certain places. But in general, most of our clients just run it with two-factor and log in, and we've been very fortunate. No incidents. It's been very secure. So as we move through here, I want to talk a little bit about differences. We're looking at a dashboard here. As I mentioned earlier, you saw that NetLedger dashboard. This is the 21st anniversary of the dashboard. So this is a lot different than the screen we saw before. And when you think about a cloud-based version of software versus something that is on your server in your office, or in a closet somewhere, a legacy system, we call those are on-premise systems. Those are installed and managed by you. First of all, as we discussed, you have a lot of overhead with respect to the support of that. You need an IT company to help you out. You need to have cables run. You need to have some sort of remote technology to access that from outside the building. Got to have antivirus. You have to be able to back it up. All those things are true. Not only that, but you then have to do a manual upgrade every so often, right? So whether it's every year or twice a year, somebody like us has to come in there and go ahead and install get the new software down, upgrade it, manually go through that process, test it out. That might take a couple days and some expense to have that done. But NetSuite is what we call a versionless software. You don't really have to do anything to it. Twice a year, NetSuite offers upgrades that happen automatically overnight, and that's a huge benefit. You go to sleep one night, old version, wake up, new version. You didn't even know there's some new features. You have a bunch of information that tells you what the new features are. There's a lot of ways that you get that information, so you know what the new features are. It's just a lot more seamless of an approach to upgrades than it was before. Just like using any cloud-based software like Facebook or LinkedIn, those are all cloud-based, and there's really no version. You just go log in and it's new software, and some days you find some new stuff. It's pretty cool. So that's how NetSuite is, and that's how it's always been. So this isn't a new thing for Oracle NetSuite. It's been like that for a while. So I'm in the role as the CEO right now. This is what the dashboard looks like, but I'm going to quickly pop over to the role of CFO. We talked a little bit about financial planning and access to financial information. As you can see on this screen, NetSuite is designed to present information to you that you need right at your fingertips based on the role that you're in. So for example, this is Mark Collins. I'm logged in as Mark. And as you can see in the top right, I have a couple roles here, but I'm going to be switching back and forth just so you can see NetSuite from different perspective, because NetSuite attempts to present all the data that you need to work with in your dashboard right in front of you. So this is a CFO. And of course, CFOs are constantly looking at a financial report. So This icon right here is an income statement. I'm going to go ahead and pop right through on that and then run an income statement for this year. So this is just an income statement for this year. And as you can see down at the bottom here, I have a bunch of different subsidiaries that I'm working with in this demo company. One is Neo3 Holding Company, and then we have offices all over the world. We don't, but we're planning on it. For demo purposes, we could say that. We have just one in the United States. But you see, anybody with financial experience on the call might recognize that, hey, this is a consolidated report for multiple entities that before I had to do some sort of third party to get that data together, but now I have it all in one place. I could look at Neo3 US on its own and run that report, or I could say, hey, give me all of them consolidated and run a consolidated report and rerun that report. Now I have the consolidated totals. Then I'm thinking to myself, well, that'd be great if I could see them side by side. So why don't I go to my column over here and say, show me subsidiaries, and refresh this so I can see subsidiaries in a column format. So there you go. So now I have an income statement that is broken down by subsidiary and totaled across the top, and I could see my different subsidiary amounts right from the screen. In some situations, that could take days to get together, if not weeks. If you have different systems running on different for these different entities and getting them together, doing data conversion on foreign exchange, this all happens automatically within NetSuite.
Typically, do people jump from managing things in Excel to NetSuite, or do they kind of go to QuickBooks Online to Net? Is there a graduation path?
Yes, I would say there is. There's a couple different ways to look at it, right? Depending on the complexity and the volume of your transactions, that really is what drives your need for a system like NetSuite. We have users that are companies that are 2-user systems, all the way up to several thousand users using the same platform. The thing that's beautiful about that is that it's scalable by price, right? So you're paying the 2-user version of somebody that's paying, using the same software at $7,000. Now we've noticed a lot of companies grow. They start out using QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks, installed, and then over a period of time they get bigger. The next thing you know, they're a $5 million, $10 million company having all these transactions. They still got their core financials in the back end. They don't really have a good place to track their inventory. They can't really do sales orders that way. They're manufacturing, they're losing that. And all of a sudden they realize they have 5 different systems and 10 different spreadsheets that they're using to run their operation. And none of that data is connected. So if I'm an inventory manager who has a spreadsheet and I'm using it, the CFO doesn't know how much inventory we have. We have to do a count all the time. And so I think that when you start looking at a business and you start doing workarounds for everything in your organization to get data, that's when you know it's time for an integrated system that has one source of truth and all the data is based on one data set. So, and that's what NetSuite is.
Right. Well, that single version of the truth is something I hear quite a bit. So that's true. Anytime you're having to jump from spreadsheet to spreadsheet, report to report, and there's not a unified perspective, everyone's kind of working from different information, so to speak, related, but different perspectives. So that's good to know. Kind of those are the signals or the signs that one should consider when moving to a system like NetSuite.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. Okay, so this is just displaying the ease of showing you different data within NetSuite. Now, this is all core data within NetSuite. And of course, we can drill down on any one of these pieces of information to get further into it to see where this data came from. Another problem when you have spreadsheets all over the place, you got a spreadsheet that says, hey, here's the number, but where'd that come from? What's the support for that? So, we could look at any one of these things here. Oh, here's all the support for this data. And of course, we can continue on to click down through into the transaction itself if we wanted to go that far. Generally, you may or may not do that, especially if you're at CFO level. But if you wanted to, you can. Here is that invoice that makes that up. So we'll just go back to our dashboard, and a couple other neat things, about these dashboards is that they're constantly being updated. This key performance indicators is different for every user, right? So you can have we'll show you quickly in the CFO role here, different aspects, different information. For right here, I got sales information, I have revenue information. I could drill down on all these things. I have shortcuts to every piece of information that I need here. Here's my budget versus actual. So we have a budget in the system, and I put my budget amount in here. And budgets are very easy to maintain in NetSuite. We could copy budgets from previous years, or you can project out based on sales forecasts. In this case, we just built a budget based on previous year. So here's my budget, here's my actual, and again, these reports can be all broken out into different divisions, or they can be rolled up into one consolidated entity. We go back to the dashboard here. One other neat thing about NetSuite is we call this reminder concept here. And this is kind of the proactive thing that we have going on with NetSuite that tells you what you need to do as in your role on a given day or week or period. These reminders here tell me things that are coming up that I have to handle. For example, I'm logged in as a CFO. I have some expense reports of people that I need to approve here. Of course, I can click right through here and approve any one of these and save those. And those are now approved and pending payment. So things of that nature that get driven out of somebody else doing something, now we're able to know that we have to do something else. So the approval process, the workflows are built into NetSuite. And we'll go back to the dashboard here. And these dashboards are configurable for the things that you're interested in, not just the things that NetSuite is interested in. Although the years of experience and the study of best practices with industry, they provide you some of the best dashboards already out of the box. Like some of these graphs here, these are real-time graphs. You can look at them any way you like. This one happens to be income by period trend. You can see it from a sidebar standpoint or a line chart. Very pleasing data. Additionally, here's some financial data. We're in a CFO role. These data sets are all calculated by NetSuite and updated all the time. So this is real-time data. Anybody that has to deal with the bank needs to get this information quickly, sometimes on a monthly basis to meet your covenants, and that's an important thing. Additionally, we have cash flow projections. What are we going to need in the next several weeks? How much money we're going to need? And then we have a couple other, you have optional portlets on each side. So you can look at, here's an income by period trend. It's pretty neat. Over here, we have new customers versus existing customers, our sales breakdown. At a snapshot view, I can say, okay, we're doing pretty good with our new customers, almost half of our existing customer base. So there's good information right here. And as you move across the top, each one of these portlets, these different areas have a different dashboard for you to look at. Like right now, we have our employee count is 45. Here's our revenue per employee. It's a big metric in a lot of industries. People want to see that. Now today, you might have to calculate that by hand every month. Now, of course, we have employee lists and so forth. And then as we get further down the road here, we go to the financial overview tab, and then you get some more information that you might not have on your main dash. Here's some comparative sales this month versus last. Here's your financials overview, a couple more metrics that were put in place there. Kind of neat thing here, 10 pipeline by status, right? This is telling me where my pipeline is for my sales team. I got 90% of my opportunities are in discussion. Are those going to hit pretty quick? I mean, we need to know when are those going to close. If they're in discussion, that's a pretty good place. That's sort of the end of the road there. So this data just keeps getting presented to you in different fashions, and of course you can configure this. Now, if we switch over to the CEO role, the CEO obviously has different things on his mind. He's more revenue based, right? We have some key performance indicators here. that are sales based. Everything's for the CEO is usually revenue based. Here's some KPIs. Here's my revenue for this month. Tells me the threshold last month, this month. We could look at expenses too if we're worried about those. We could change these meters to see a total bank balance, see what's in my bank right now. Those are all these things again are based on the role that you're logged in as. One cool thing about the CEO role is that they have what's called board metrics. So anybody that's a CEO that has to deal with a board, there's certain pieces of data that board wants all the time, and these are all printable, and you can put them in a report, make these things pretty. Like here's our top 25 items by sales. So we're selling the switch quite a bit. We have a SunSpark over here, server. This happens to be a hardware dealer that we're talking about right now. And then we have these board metrics that banks and boards like these things. Your current ratio, your receivables turnover, your DSO, and these things are all calculated by the system. Again, if you think about this, and if you need these in your business, these are things that have to be calculated typically by hand or through some third-party means to get that stuff done. So NetSuite takes the data, puts it into one central place. Everybody's using the same data set, and then it's churned out and given back to you in different ways so that you can absorb the data and use it in any way you want to make better decisions.
I know I don't want to ask you to spill the beans on who your kind of customers are, but if you could talk about maybe some of their feedback to you after they've implemented it, maybe let it run for a month or 2 months to see what kind of changes they've seen in their business, what they've been able to achieve. Do you have anything you'd like to share there?
Yeah, I mean, some of the biggest things that we get are we've taken data, like I mentioned a little bit earlier. You sometimes, we used to call it the hairball, where you have a bunch of different systems connected together that aren't always in sync. And, we take that away because there's, when you look at NetSuite and its data structure, there's only one customer and everybody uses that same customer data set. There's only one inventory master. Everybody uses that. So the data that's coming out of the system is a lot more consistent than it was in the previous software they were using. It's also quicker to get reports. The data is real time versus things that are posted monthly or weekly. So those are some of the biggest problems that we solve are the separation of data and the speed at which we can get that data through the system and back to the people that really need it.
I see this being a really good upside for people who are in just-in-time manufacturing. Is that an area that you guys have worked with before?
We do. And in those scenarios, one thing I forgot to mention, because NetSuite is structured on the internet, and I'm glad you brought this up because it reminded me of something I want to talk about, is that we're able to connect to other systems to talk about, like, for example, supply chain management. I may be buying from people all over the world, and I want to know what kind of inventory they have in their facility, and we're able to integrate NetSuite to their systems in a lot of cases so that we know how much material they have, when can we get, when it will be at our place, when it's going to hit our docks, all of that. And the same thing on the other side, we can provide that information to big retailers through EDI or other connections so that we're wired in both ways. So the system's built, the structure that's on it, we're able to open up to anybody really on the web, which is very powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I have any other questions. Patrick, is there anything you'd like to mention that maybe Jim and I didn't get to?
No, obviously, Jim covered a lot of it. One of the big things that we've been seeing recently, and Jim might have touched on a little bit earlier, was just, with your distributed and remote workforce, that a lot of it, which has happened, through the last few months, especially with COVID, being able to access the software, from multiple places. And then also being able to customize it for each individual user is a big thing. So, it's not just one canned thing that everybody has to use. You get to actually customize it so it works for that individual. Each person, again, you can button down a little bit of what they're able to do, but for the most part, they can make it so their day is pretty much in front of them. All the reminders are there and everything like that. So those are some of the big things to always, keep keep in mind.
Yeah, one other thing, just remind me, Pat. Speaking of distribution, you can get on your phone and your iPad and Android, and native Android, native iOS. The applications there in full force in those two platforms, and we use it like that all the time.
What so I know that with a lot of softwares, there's different integrations for people in different industries. What are some of the popular ones that work really well with NetSuite that people have utilized together?
There's some baseline integrations that we do a lot, right? Like, for example, ADP, right? A lot of people use ADP for their payroll because they've been doing it forever. They're very comfortable with that. ADP is a good company. So we have pre-built integrations to ADP so they can bring that information back into NetSuite on a pay period by pay period basis. So it's current, and no rekeying, there's no journal entries. We then take it upstream. On the sales side is where it's really getting interesting in the integrations, because NetSuite is a multi-channel product out of the box. It has its own e-commerce website, right? So it integrates you can have a website right in NetSuite that's using the same data. That's core NetSuite. But then there's other channels that you're selling through, right? You got eBay, you got Amazon, you got Shopify, you got all these other channels that you want to sell product on. And we've been doing a lot of integrations to those things directly. So that we can, put pricing information, images, available inventory, that sort of information we push right up to those websites real time, and and then the orders come back down and we get fulfilled real time. It's really neat. That's a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun with that nowadays. That's a big part of what we're doing.
Good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when they think going into the process of determining if they need to do this, they may consider their current programs and softwares that they work with, like
right.
Maybe just they get a little bit put off because they're afraid that it's going to be too in the weeds, just too convoluted. But it doesn't sound like that's a problem with NetSuite.
No, it's as with I'll caution everybody, and you want to kind of take things in pieces, right? You don't want to. We used to, first in the industry, we used to see these big bangs and replace every system all at once, and then you'd have to have the worst couple of weeks of your life as a user, and we don't want that, So we try to do things in a more strategic way, where we say, okay, first we're going to take care of your core financials, then we're going to get your manufacturing and inventory control, then we'll reach out to your sales channels and kind of phase it in over time. Makes it a lot more palatable for the users and for the customer, and it makes for a better implementation long term.
We just got one question here. Hold me 1 second so I can read it. Someone who's currently an assistant to a controller of a manufacturing company, and they're training someone in human resources and payroll management to take over. They can see the advantages of NetSuite and everything that you've shown, that she would like some more info. So what can people who have some questions do to get in touch with you and learn a little bit more about NetSuite?
Well, first, I'd like to kick that over to Pat. Pat's our VP of sales, so he handles all that. So, Patrick, take it from there.
Yeah, definitely. Can obviously just reach directly out to me. My email is pretty simple. It's pat@neo3.com. And then my direct line is 330-702-8387. So you could, definitely do that. And then also, with the comment, actually, I could actually reach out to you also. That wouldn't be a problem at all. Because some of the questions that you asked and some of the things we haven't hit on, or actually we do, we've showed you a lot of the financial aspect of NetSuite, but there's also it does have built-in payroll, has built-in HR, things like that you could actually use, or we can connect to other systems that if you're more comfortable with those. So there's a lot of things, like that. So yeah, definitely you could, reach out directly to us and we could, discuss it. And I did see another question come through kind of on our industries that we serve, so NetSuite definitely can get into a lot of different industries. Some of our main ones we deal with are wholesale distribution, manufacturing, e-commerce, retail stores, advertising, media, publishing type companies, anybody that's like kind of in the services industry. We have nonprofits, software industry. So we really have a lot of different things. That's just naming a few. I mean, we can definitely, food, once you get into those, it's even more granular, just like into food and beverage, but things like that. So we could definitely handle a lot. If we can't, first we will definitely let you know that it's not our expertise. We don't ever want to get down that road either, where we can't help you. So one of our main things we first initially meet with you is kind of try to discuss, are we a good fit? We want to be a good fit for each other before we start moving forward. So that's something we always try to hit on with everybody.
And one other thing I'd like to add is that you can always go to our website, right? We got a very short URL. It's neo3.com. As you can see behind me, Neo3. We go by Neo3. And our website has a contact form on there too if you want to get some more information. And thanks to the folks at Palette Creative for doing such a nice job on that website as well.
Any last statements before we head out?
No, just thank you all for your time today, and feel free to reach out to us at any point. And you have a great day and charge on through the COVID pandemic. Keep going.
Great.
Totally agree.
Jim,
Thanks,
everybody.
Thanks so much for joining us, and I'd like to thank everybody who attended today.
Okay, take care. Thanks,
guys.
Bye, guys.